Good afternoon. Welcome to another one of my videos. Today is February 28th. It is the last day of February 2022 and also the last day of the lunar new year, the first month of the lunar new year in the year of the tiger. I want to do another video today with you to share some thoughts I have about the current crisis that's happening in between Russia and Ukraine. And first of all, let me just tie that into a earlier video that I made about my predictions for the year of the tiger. And according to the Lunar New Year Chinese zodiac's readings for the year of the tiger, as I said, the year of the tiger is going to be just like the animal itself, very full of energy, and it's going to be very full of aggressive energy, as well as because it's the year of the water tiger. Water is a symbol of change and fluidity. So already we are seeing off to the new year some very aggressive, unstable changes, right? Again, year of the tiger, aggressive energy. We're seeing an act of aggression between Russia and Ukraine. And let me also start by saying that I think what is happening over there is very unfortunate. But I think I might have a little bit of a different perspective compared to a lot of people, compared to what other people may see over there, because I take a more of a long-term perspective on why that is happening right now, and I think of it from a historical perspective. I don't just look at what's happened within the last 3 months or even the last year. I've been watching foreign relations and international affairs ever since I was very young, all the way back to high school and college. In fact, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in International Studies and French, and I spent a year living in Europe and France and studying the history and culture of Europe. And so I think I may have a better understanding compared to some people when it comes to the affairs that are happening in Europe, European history, and how that ties into U.S. history and politics. With that being said, again, I think it's very unfortunate what has happened over there. I think both Russia, Ukraine, as well as Western Europe and the US, they have somehow got themselves into this position by probably failing to negotiate a better solution to the problems way ahead of time. And so it's my understanding that Russia, for their part, they're now they've been dealing with the situation of an expanding NATO, right? That has continued to expand eastward towards their doorstep ever since the fall of the Soviet Union, and they have been seeking assurances from the West and the U.S. Throughout that time, probably since the 2000s. And from their perspective, okay. And again, I'm not a Russian expert, but speaking generally, I think they have, in their view, they have not gotten those assurances from the West and the U.S. And also from their perspective at this point, they've gotten to a point where they have to take action and they have to respond, or they think they're really going to be in trouble. So again, I think it's what's happened over there is very unfortunate. My thoughts and prayers are with the Ukrainian people. as with anyone who is involved and affected. We're seeing human suffering to a great extent over there. This was, in my opinion, again, it is avoidable, but we have gotten ourselves into this position. That being said, my expectation is that Russia wants to fight a limited war, a contained war, and their goal is to establish the two regions in eastern Ukraine, like Donbass, as independent regions away from Ukraine, so that they can use them as buffer zones against the continuing Western sort of intimidation into their territory, in their view. If they can do that successfully, and they'll need Ukraine to basically meet their demands, as well as the West and the US to meet their demands. If they can do that successfully, and I think that's where it's going to stop. But it will not stop if Ukraine continues to resist very strongly. And of course they will, right? Because they themselves are being threatened too. This is a war that's happening on their soil, and it's a war that's happening on Russia's doorstep. So at this point, unfortunately, neither side can back down. But my hope is that it is going to be a contained and limited war. Hopefully, the two sides can come to an understanding soon, and they can come to some agreement on some terms that they can both live with, and bring peace to the region. There's something else, and I want to point out is that it is a time, of upheaval in the world. But funny enough, certain things never change. And that is despite, kind of like all the tension and hostility. And, there's a lot of things that seem to be going wrong. Let me just use one example, right? It's the stock market. So the stock market has been very volatile. I believe Russia officially announced their invasion of Ukraine. It seems to be official, happening on February 24th, which was last week. But they've been doing mobilization and troop buildup for months before that. And this actually was, well known to the U.S., of course. Everybody knew that they've been mobilizing their troops, and they have been building up their presence along the border. But I think what has surprised everyone, and what has caused a volatility in the stock market, is that they didn't know Russia was actually going to attack. And maybe even the Russians too. They didn't see that this was going to be unavoidable. But here we are. But the stock market, took a pretty big tumble, right? Right around the time, when they announced that they were going to attack, and when they attacked. But as there's an old Chinese saying, right? With every crisis, there's an opportunity. So, some people are going to lose money. Their stocks are not going to do well. And but some stocks and some companies and some people will actually benefit from this situation. So who stands to benefit from this opportunity of armed military conflict? Well, it's the armed defense industry. And so the top three arms manufacturers in the world are all based in the U.S. And together they account for not only the majority of the arms sales market in the U.S., but as well as in the world. Those three companies are, I think, in the order of importance: Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing. All three have major contracts with the U.S. government, and they also sell a lot of arms to foreign countries. As I'm speaking right now, actually, the European Commission had just announced they're going to be providing military aid in the dollars amounts of like something like $400 or $500 million, right, of military arms. And where do you think all that money is going to? It's all going to go to these defense manufacturers. I've taken the time to do a little bit of a quick comparison. So this is a chart I've compiled, and let's just make sure you can see that. So just to make it really simple, the top three color lines you see there are the three of the very major significant arms manufacturers, Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin, as well as Raytheon. I didn't put Boeing on there. Their performance actually hasn't been as dramatic, so I didn't show them as an example. Down at the bottom there, that other line down at the bottom is the S&P 500. So this is the performance of the S&P 500 as compared to the top lines there. Those are the defense manufacturers within the last 30 days. And as you can see, towards this side over here, more towards this side, is closer to the date of the official invasion. But before that, of course, we know, right? There has been a buildup, of troops. So the market was already anticipating this. And as you can see, I don't know if that's big enough for you to see, the average performance of the defense manufacturers within the last 30 days, they're up an average of 25%. Whereas for the S&P 500, it's down 10%. So think about that. If you had actually invested your money into the arms manufacturer within the past 30 days, your stock just went up 25% instead of going down 10% if you had a S&P 500 index fund or something like that. So that's just like a quick overview. And so again, what are the kind of like the messages and points that I'm trying to get across here is that I'm not sure, first of all, how this conflict is going to end. I believe Russia wants to fight a limited war, contained war. I don't think they're looking at a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, even though that's actually what the US government is saying. The reason why is because I don't think Russia thinks it's feasible within their means to fully invade Ukraine. They will be in a very long, protracted war, and followed by occupation, which is also not what they want to do. This is not like the US invading Iraq or Afghanistan. And those are much smaller countries where we go in there and, just do a warfare and then occupation for the next 15, 20 years. Russia is not going to do that. They just can't afford to do it. They want this to be quick. It's a show of force to send a message to Ukraine as well as to the West. Don't mess around, at my doorstep, or there's going to be consequences. Also, I want to point out something which is also interesting, which is China. A lot of people says, China should be saying something to Russia. China should be, doing something, using their influence to do something. There's also another school of thought to say that, let's be careful with what China will do in the event that they take this as an opportunity to attack Taiwan, which has been claimed by them as a renegade province. So far, they have not done that. And from my understanding of, and again, I can't say I'm an expert on Chinese politics. They, from what I've seen over time, I don't think they're going to attack Taiwan. The reason why is because they take a sort of a long view on this situation. They have a set strategy and plan on how they plan on taking over Taiwan or reunifying Taiwan, as they would say. And they're not going to react to a sudden, unanticipated event like the Russian invasion of Ukraine. That is my understanding. And I think they're going to exercise restraint in this situation, even though a lot of people say, well, you know, it's a good opportunity for them. But I don't think they will do that. And then, to end the video today, you know, I think this is an uncertain situation. I do hope that it will end soon. It's uncertain, I think, how long it's going to take. It really depends on how quickly the both sides can come to some agreement and start setting down to negotiate the terms of peace. And I hope that it's sooner rather than later. But you know, they have just started kind of like fighting, right? So I think it's going to take a little while for it to hash out. In the meantime, you know, again, my thoughts and prayers go out to the Ukrainian people as well as anybody who's affected. And I hope everyone continues to stay well. If you like this video, please subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Okay, again, it's still the Lunar New Year, technically the first month, and so my best wishes to you, health and prosperity. Take good care.